What does Big Bird from Sesame Street have to do with Chinese food? Turns out, a lot. Before there was Big Bird, the team behind the big yellow full body puppet dreamed up something else, a Chinese dragon called Delbert.
Hello there, lovers of chow mein. My name is Delbert, the Choy dragon.
In today's episode, we'll learn how Chinese food helped inspire the creation of Big Bird. Hi, my name is Christy, and this is the American Chinese Food Show. Over the years, Jim Henson and his crew made a ton of TV commercials, many of them food-related. They did ads for Purina Dog Chow, where Ruff was created for in 1962, Pizza Hut, 2 cereals. Jim Henson started making TV commercials in the 1950s. His first clients were Wilkins Coffee, then McGarry's Sausage and SK Meats. It was here he began experimenting with mixing puppets and humor to sell products. It was usually a skit of 2 characters just, goofing off. For example, this is Kermit and Harry singing the SK song.
Okay.
If you want something that's really good and really delicious, really
How did Jim Henson get into Chinese food? The canned food industry of the 1960s was fiercely competitive. Major players included Heinz, Campbell's Soup Company, and Beatrice Foods, who bought La Choy in 1943, its first acquisition outside of the dairy sector. They were all marketing convenience as freedom and modernity for the middle-class American family. La Choy's niche, mass-marketed quote-unquote Oriental cuisine made convenient for mainstream American households. But it had competition. One of its biggest rivals was Chongqing, which was doing aggressive marketing with help from Stan Freberg, radio personality and voice actor for Looney Tunes. Beatrice's early ad budget in the 1950s was modest, radio spots, newspaper ads, but by the 1960s it exploded, from $80,000 to then $400,000 in the 1970s. In 1965, ad agency Campbell Mithun brought in Jim Henson to shake things up. The pitch? A fire-breathing dragon. Henson was intrigued. When the La Choy commercials first came out in 1965, it was in a very similar format as Jim Henson's other commercials. There was Delbert the Dragon and another puppet, Mert, both voiced by Jim Henson. What made this campaign stand out was how well the puppet was integrated with the product. They even coined a whole new slogan.
Because it's quick cooked in dragon fire.
At last, canned chow mein you can serve at home. Chicken chow mein, beef chow mein, shrimp chow mein, crisp and good as the takeout kind. And yes, they actually used real fire with a blowtorch. I have a feeling maybe Henson just kind of wanted an excuse to play with fire. Henson made 7 commercials featuring the hand puppet version of Delbert. The next year, though, he made 4 more with a big update to Delbert on top of the packaging change from La Choy going to the bi-pack can. Let's see if you can spot it. I'll start with my favorite, the sad bride who can't cook.
Behold the sad bride who can't cook.
I can't even boil water.
Behold the dragon who lurketh in the pantry.
Lurk.
Hey, it's a lurking dragon.
The La Choy dragon, my lady, with La Choy chow mein.
Okay, the lurk never fails to crack me up. But something else very important is happening here. This version of Delbert wasn't just upper body puppetry. It was a full body walk around dragon. Big, clumsy, completely ridiculous. The
can
next
help
one
this
is the
man?
wifeless
The La Choy
husband.
dragon, friend.
Oh, yeah?
You need La Choy chow mein.
And there's Delbert knocking everything off the shelves at the supermarket. What else are you gonna do with a big clumsy dragon? And the last one, he wrecked your whole kitchen.
Never serve La Choy chow mein without the noodles. I must leave.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm off to tell a hungry world about LaChoy Chow Mein.
So how did Delbert come about? What was the creative process like? What was inside Jim Henson's head? Well, the crazy thing is there is a sales reel created by Henson for LaChoy that explained exactly how all this went down. And here it is.
Camel Methuen first contacted me last September about doing a series of commercials for LaChoy Chow Mein, and their idea of using a dragon that breathed real fire quite intrigued me. Since time was short, I knew that doing this job would provide a real challenge to myself and the entire staff. Now, the first thing I did was turn the commercials over to our scriptwriting department for adding the Muppet-like humor to the commercials. And meanwhile, our special effects department began working on perfecting this fire-breathing mechanism for the dragon. I always personally do the final sketches for the puppet characters, and as soon as these were done, I turned them over to our puppet builders and costumers. Of course, the entire success of this LaChoy dragon depended on getting the fire-breathing mechanism perfected. At the same time, our scenic department was working on the sets and properties that we needed for the job. And all departments really pitched in to make this series of commercials as spectacular as possible. When the day of filming arrived, my staff and myself felt quite confident that all problems, including the one of the fire-breathing dragon, had been overcome. Finally, we were all ready to shoot, and Del Ankers, our cinematographer, rolled the camera on the first of the LaChoy Chow Mein commercials. I will admit that these particular commercials posed some problems in filming, and the finished spots may look simple enough, but actually we did have a few problems that did prove challenging and costly. However, we at Muppets Incorporated feel that anything is worth it to turn out some really fine commercials for a fine product like LaChoy Chow Mein.
My job here is done. That's it for today's episode. No, just kidding. I feel like I can add some retrospective not included in the sales reel. Delbert the LaChoy Dragon marked a few turning points for Jim Henson's puppets. First, this was the first full-body puppet made by Jim. It served as a blueprint for Sesame Street's Big Bird. Then perfect for sweeping fantasy projects like The Dark Crystal. Second, guess who was inside Delbert? Is Frank Oz. Also able to crane the character's neck, swagger, and flail his arms. But he absolutely hated being inside Delbert. He said, "I hated those costume things and Jim knew it. That's why he reveled in me doing it. I was blind. I counted steps to figure out where to walk and listened to voices so I would know which way to turn." Frank's disdain for performing inside a full-body character was a deciding factor for his not being cast as Big Bird on Sesame Street. So in a roundabout way, this eventually led to the casting of Carol Spinney as Big Bird. So how did the campaign go for LaChoy? LaChoy placed 1,000-line ads completely with coupons and everything in newspapers and leading markets for Dragon Fire cooked dinners for two. Sales, of course, jumped, but there was one surprising response. The Georgia Department of Agriculture complained that advertising that chow mein is cooked in dragon fire was very misleading to the consumer. Well, ad campaigns are short-lived. The following year, Delbert was mostly gone other than a hand puppet produced so poorly. I had to double check if it's real. But many Jim Henson fans consider Delbert one of their favorite puppets. The most recent sighting of the LaChoy Dragon was in the final issue of the Puppet Show comic book Family Reunion series. In the comic, the LaChoy Dragon was seen destroying a city behind Skeeter as she embarked on a new adventure. Maybe good old Big Bird is nothing like Delbert the dragon, a clumsy, crude, kind of rude dragon that just, bumps around. But I'm so glad that Delbert existed so that Big Bird can come into many, many kids' lives. That's it for today's episode. If you like our content, subscribe to the channel. See you soon.